Hi, friends. Doc South here. I noticed today I was going through, opening up the computer, and I noticed evidently that my daughter Sunshine posted something on evidently a Facebook page devoted to the history of Chester, New Jersey, where I grew up. And Sunny mentioned how my first wife and I lived in Chester, actually had, if not the first antique shop in town back in the 60s, certainly one of them. And she mentioned how the place was haunted. And I thought, well, it might be. I told her if people would like, I'll be glad to tell what I know of the haunting, and just give folks something to to entertain them. Certainly not. This is hardly a ghost story, even though it's about a ghost. First off, I'll say, yeah, we lived. My first wife and I had a store called Splinter Shop. It was on Main Street in Chester in what was known as the Old Factory Building. The Old Factory Building. I was right across from the barber shop. You wouldn't know it to look at me as well, I was a hippie back then, grew my hair long. And all in all, it was a great town to live in. And the store, well, I know the merchants will go nuts, but I think we rented at one point three sections of store space in that building. I think our rent total, counting an apartment above the store that we lived in, I think I think it was, counting the apartment, I think it was all 400 a month. I think it was. I know the very first segment of store that we rented, and then we got more segments, I think was, forgive me if I'm wrong, it was 50 or $100. Yeah, right. Okay. So it was a long time ago. Right. The and we loved it. The old factory building was, I guess, at one time was some kind of factory. I thought I had heard it was for making leather goods, shoes maybe. I could be wrong. I know there was machinery wheels in the up in the attic of the place. In other words, there were like long shafts, drive shafts, and these big fat pulleys that obviously evidently turned, I would assume, leather belts that you could probably adjust the tension, and they must have gone down to machines down in the lower floors where you could work machinery perhaps to cut leather or sew it or punch holes in it, that kind of thing. It definitely was an old factory at one time. But we did have a ghost that basically hung out in the apartment. Seldom did we, in fact, I don't ever recall any time where the ghost was down in the store. Might have been sometimes you did have a feeling there was something in the store, but generally, no, it was most of what we saw happened up in the apartment. I never actually laid eyes on the ghost myself. In all cases, any of the things I saw her do were she was invisible. Okay, but still had quite the presence. Now, I'm assuming a female, because on occasion we'd be out in the backyard or the front yard of the, well, not the, we'd be in the backyard of the building, and maybe sitting with friends having a beer, or, cooking a hamburger or something, and people would look up at our apartment window and say, "Hey, someone's up in your apartment. Looks like a girl." Yeah, she's funny looking, dressed funny. And they would describe her as having longish hair, black hair, and wearing like a white lacy gown. Actually, sort of looked like a hippie girl. For now that I think about it, but then they'd look back up and she'd be gone just like that. And no one was up in the apartment. I go up and look, just to make sure. No. And we assume that was Mary. Also, I'll explain some other things about her. She was a kindly being. I'm assuming probably not very well. It, I would think when she passed away, she might have been a younger person, young adult. I would think. She was never really about the only thing she liked to do was she did like to mess with the cats. Yeah, she liked to. The cats were kind of afraid of her. I I don't know why, but they were. Now and then you'd see one of our cats maybe running from her. There might be a stick floating behind the cat, and the cat's going, "Oh my God, let me out of here!" You know, sticks that are flying. You got to be kidding. That kind of thing. Mary was very good at. She'd open up doors. She would open up like cupboard doors and then shut them if you asked her to. We used to do that with friends in the house who didn't believe that she was there. We'd say, "Hey, Mary, could you open up that cupboard, please?" And the door would open. And then I said, "Mary, you can shut it if you want." Bang, and she'd shut it. And of course, our friends would be, "Oh." And she'd do that with closet doors. Oh, yeah. Always big on that. Love doing that. And there was no way those doors were moving, just on my voice command. No, I don't know. I don't think so. Mary would sometimes sit down next to you if you were reading at night, and she'd just kind of sit there and kind of, I guess, read over your shoulder. You felt her presence. You could actually feel like a chin resting on your shoulder. Yeah, yeah, or just a person's presence next to you. And you'd actually feel it. Okay. I know one time, and I don't mean this to be risque, but my wife and I were in bed, for the night, and my first wife's name was Molly, a very nice person, and we were in bed, and I was kind of facing the wall. Okay, I slept on the wall side of the bed, very tiny bedroom. And all of a sudden I feel kind of like a hand on my shoulder and a kind of a head snuggling up next to me and actually kissing my neck. And I thought, oh boy, okay, the wife's awake, let's go. I was young, yeah, okay. And I turn over to face my wife, and she's sound asleep with her back to me. Yeah. Mary, I said, "Mary, please." And she went away, but it was like that. Mary would, now, back in the day, just to describe, it used to be that people didn't have cable. Okay, there was no cable. I know it's hard to believe, but there was no cable. And if you didn't have an outdoor antenna that you would kind of attach to your chimney, right, to get your TV signal, well, then you would have rabbit ears. You would have a rabbit ear antenna, and that would be something inside. You would set it on the TV. It was like a Bakelite ball with rods coming out of it, usually 2 rods, and it looked like rabbit ears. Okay. And what you had to do was, depending on what channel you want, you'd maybe adjust your rabbit ears, make them shorter. You could make, they were telescoping. You could make them shorter, longer. You could move them this way and that, and till you got a good signal. And then sometimes you'd be watching a station, for whatever reason, the signal would kind of drop out. So you had to get up and adjust the rabbit ears again. I know it sounds impossible, but that's how it was. Okay. Well, I remember one day my wife and I were sitting sitting on the sofa, kind of vegging out. Been a long day in the store. We're watching TV, and the signal went bad. And I said, "Oh man, Molly, would you get up and take care of that?" And she says, "Well, why don't you do it?" I said, "Well, I don't want to do it. I did it the last time." She said, "Well, you You're the man of the house. Go take care. Okay. And we're both sitting there arguing like that. All of a sudden, we see the antenna just moving by itself and the adjusting back and forth. And bingo, beautiful picture. Beautiful picture. And, well, it was Mary. We said, Mary, thank you. That was so nice of you. We're so wiped out. And, I don't know if she sat down and watched TV with us or not. Probably did. And there you are. And so now one day we had friends in the house. And we were all watching TV. And, again, the picture went haywire. And Molly and I look at each other, and she says, why don't you see if Mary will do it? I said, Mary, could you fix the rabbit ears? And darned if she didn't. Right in front of our friends. The friends went berserk. They went out of their minds. They left. No, we weren't watching. I think we were watching cartoons. But yeah, you see what I'm saying. She had this great sense of humor and was basically like one of the family. And all in all, just a wonderful ghost. And I don't know if she's still there or not. The building's still there. Whether it's apartments up there now, I don't know. I don't know. It was a very old building. I think it was built in the mid 1800s. I don't know if there was a death in the factory at one time, and that might have been Mary. I don't know. She was no harm to anyone, and she seemed to have a great sense of humor and affectionate, like I told you, and just a pleasant being. Certainly nothing a ghost story would be. No, Stephen King would have nothing here. Except once. We did have again, I highly suggest you don't get a Ouija board. Okay, I'm just saying. But we had a friend who had this, I won't say her name because it might be embarrassing to her if she were to see this, but we'll call her Jane. That was not her name. Okay. But Jane we had a Ouija board, and we were taking turns working the Ouija board. Again, bad idea. Seems to be not much good happens with them. But Jane had this very high-pitched, she did not have a bass voice. She couldn't be in a doo-wop group singing bass. Let's just say that. She could probably do the falsetto pretty good. And she's working the Ouija board, and all of a sudden this weird look come over her face. She opened her mouth about this big, and it was the biggest, bassest, meanest sound you ever heard in your life. Like that. Man, we got rid of that Ouija board quick. And and she didn't remember talking like that. In fact, you couldn't get her to talk like that. So again, there were many things in that town, in that building, and other buildings in Chester that seemed to, I don't know, for one reason or other, there was a lot of ghost type activity going on. And again, I don't know if to this day it's still happening or not, but I often drive by that building and I kind of look at the windows and see, gee, I wonder if Mary's looking out still. Yeah, she was a very nice ghost. Okay, so for what it's worth, there you go. I have other stories of Chester. I lived there from the 50s. If you want to hear more, you let me know. I'll knock out another video for you. Okay, there you go. Thank you, friends. God bless.